When you think about being destroyed by drugs, few stories are as shocking as Flavor Flav's. The man with the giant clock necklace, who hyped up crowds for Public Enemy, became one of hip-hop's biggest cautionary tales. Jonathan Drayton Jr. started as a revolutionary voice in music, but ended up spending nearly $1 million a year on crack cocaine. His story shows how even the most successful people can lose everything to addiction and bad choices. In 1985, Flavor Flav co-founded Public Enemy with Carlton Ridenour, better known as Chuck D. They met working on a college radio show and became the perfect team. Chuck D was serious and political, delivering militant messages about social justice. Flav was loud and funny, bringing energy and entertainment to their performances. When Def Jam Records executive Rick Rubin wanted to sign just Chuck D as a solo artist, he refused unless they took Flav too. This decision led to their huge 1988 album, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back, that achieved double platinum status with over 2 million copies sold. Flav's famous catchphrase, "Yeah boy ye," and his oversized clock became symbols of the group. His wild personality balanced Chuck D's serious message perfectly, creating what fans called a good cop, bad cop dynamic. But even during his early success, problems were brewing within the group itself. Other group members like Professor Griff thought Flav was too silly for a serious political organization. They believed his flamboyant behavior was incompatible with their revolutionary message. Critics outside the group called him a walking joke and said he was making fun of black people with his over-the-top antics. Some fans loved his entertaining personality, but others thought he was hurting the group's serious political message. This created ongoing tension between being commercially successful and staying true to their activist roots. The debate about whether Flav helped or hurt Public Enemy's mission would follow him for decades to come. The real problem started in the 1990s when Flav became heavily addicted to crack cocaine. What he revealed later in interviews was absolutely shocking to everyone who heard it. For 6 straight years, he spent between $2,400 and $2,600 every single day on drugs. That adds up to nearly $1 million per year just on his drug habit. To put this in perspective, most people don't make that much money in their entire lifetime. He was buying drugs and selling them at the same time, becoming his own best customer in a twisted business arrangement. He later admitted that while he tried to hide his addiction from the public eye, it was completely destroying his life behind the scenes. During this period, his drug use became a full-time occupation that left no room for the consistent touring, recording, and public appearances needed to maintain a successful music career. The drug addiction led to serious legal problems that started early and never really stopped. In 1991, he pleaded guilty to assaulting his girlfriend Karen Ross. He got 30 days in jail and lost custody of his children. Just 2 years later, in 1993, things got much worse. He fired an unlicensed gun at a neighbor and was charged with attempted murder. He also faced charges for domestic violence and drug possession. This time, he got 90 days in prison. His legal troubles became a disturbing pattern that lasted for decades and showed deep behavioral problems. In 2012, he was arrested on serious felony charges for allegedly threatening his fiance's son with a knife during a domestic dispute. He had to plead guilty to reduced misdemeanor charges, serve probation, and complete domestic violence counseling programs. In 2014, while driving to his own mother's funeral, he was arrested for speeding and marijuana possession. His license had been suspended 16 different times, showing a complete disregard for traffic laws and public safety. In 2015, he was arrested again for speeding and driving under the influence near Las Vegas. These incidents showed that his problems extended far beyond just drug addiction. The addiction took over his entire life during this time. His drug use became a full-time job that left no room for music or touring. He disappeared from the spotlight for nearly 10 years. His career was completely destroyed while he spent all his money and time on drugs. Finally, his family had to step in and force him to get help at the Betty Ford Center. When he came back to public life, it was through reality television. But this choice made things worse in many ways and damaged his reputation further. In 2004, he joined a VH1 show called The Surreal Life, even though he initially thought it was for washed-up celebrities who had passed their prime. The show led to his own dating show called Flavor Flav, which became hugely popular with mainstream audiences. The first season finale had almost 6 million viewers, making it the biggest show in VH1 history at that time. This success created a blueprint for an entire genre of celebrity reality shows that followed. But critics hated what they saw and were harsh in their condemnation of the show. They said the show made Flav look like a racist stereotype and accused it of trafficking in negative racial images. They called him a sellout and compared him to old insulting characters that made fun of black people in harmful ways. The show had Flav judging women and treating them badly on television while cameras recorded everything. Many people thought he was using his fame in the worst possible way. He had gone from being part of a revolutionary music group that fought against oppression to being a reality TV clown that seemed to reinforce the very stereotypes stereotypes his original group had opposed. The show's success revealed a troubling disconnect between what the public was watching and what critics were saying about its harmful content. His personal problems continued even after he became famous on television. In 2021, he was arrested again for domestic battery after fighting with his girlfriend. This showed that his issues with violence and relationships had not been solved by his reality TV success. The same problems that started in the 1990s were still happening 30 years later. Throughout all these decades, Flav seemed to create the same problems over and over again. His driving record was terrible, with multiple arrests for speeding, drug possession, and driving under the influence. His relationships were marked by violence and police involvement. His addiction cost him millions of dollars and nearly destroyed his career completely. Even when he found success again, the same behavioral patterns kept showing up. The most troubling part was how his public image changed from his early days. He started as the hype man for one of hip-hop's most important political groups. Public Enemy spoke out against racism and fought for social justice. But by the time he was on reality TV, Flav was being accused of reinforcing the exact stereotypes his original group had fought against. Critics said he had become everything Public Enemy once opposed. His reality show success came at a huge cost to his reputation and legacy. While millions of people watched him on television, many former fans felt betrayed. They saw him as someone who had sold out his principles for money and fame. The man who once helped deliver revolutionary messages was now seen as a joke by many people in his own community. But in recent years, Flavor Flav has worked incredibly hard to change his story and completely transform his public image. He celebrated 4 years of sobriety in October 2022, showing real commitment to staying clean and sober. When he had a brief relapse during his recovery journey, he was brutally honest about it with the public, saying he went back to day one, but his journey would continue no matter what. This kind of raw honesty about addiction and recovery helps other people who are struggling with the same problems. He now talks openly about addiction as a disease rather than a moral failing, and sees himself as someone who can teach others valuable lessons from his past mistakes. He has also used his fame for good causes lately. In 2023, he sang the national anthem at a Milwaukee Bucks game, calling it a bucket list item in a tribute to military veterans. During the 2024 Olympics, he became the official hype man for the U.S. women's water polo team and even paid rent for an Olympic athlete who needed help. He also helped save Red Lobster restaurants when they were going out of business by creating a whole marketing campaign for them. His transformation shows that people can change even after decades of problems. He now talks about addiction as a disease and sees himself as someone who can teach others from his mistakes. He helps raise money for athletes and their families. He uses his celebrity status to support causes he believes in rather than just making money. Despite all his legal troubles and personal struggles, Flavor Flav has stayed relevant in popular culture for almost 40 years. Most celebrities with his kind of criminal record and addiction problems would have disappeared completely, but he found ways to reinvent himself multiple times. In 2013, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Public Enemy, proving his lasting impact on music history. His story is complicated because it shows both the worst and best of human nature. He made terrible choices that hurt himself and the people around him. He struggled with addiction that cost him millions of dollars and nearly destroyed his career. He had legal problems that spanned decades and showed a pattern of bad behavior. But he also showed that people can change and make amends for their mistakes. His recent work helping others and staying sober proves that redemption is possible even after the darkest times. The man behind the clock necklace has lived multiple lives, each one teaching us something different about fame, addiction, and the power of second chances.